The political drama intensified last week, dampening market sentiments. Let's discuss the political risk to the PSEI. My name is Den Slim and welcome to another episode of Monday Market Outlook. Some good news to start last week. The S&P Global Ratings issued a positive outlook for the Philippines, citing improvements to the country's credit metrics. Remember last week we reported balance of payments swung to the deficit side due to debt payments. I guess paying your debts has its benefits. Meanwhile, the peso appreciates versus the dollar finally after hitting key resistance, and despite technical and macroeconomic indications of a potential breakout, the USD pulled back from recent highs to push the peso back into the 58.62 level. This was mainly driven by the sharp pullback of the US 10-year yields and eventually the DXY breaking its 8-week win streak to close on a 1-month low. Meanwhile, on the IPO front, GCash is preparing for an IPO in the second half of next year in the Philippine Stock Exchange. I wonder what happened to the dual exchange IPO. It's sad that GCash is left to IPO in the PSE. The IPO targets 1 to 1.5 billion in funding. This could have the fintech valued at 7.5 billion, assuming a 20% float. Now, while the valuation here seems justified based on what we know so far, the challenge is really whether the stock will maintain a significant upside post-IPO, especially given the high expectations and the pre-IPO hype. Now, Globe could benefit from improved earnings from its Mint stake, potentially boosting its share price, which has currently fallen 15% from their October highs. Just to see how big the valuation of GCash is, this could put GCash into the 8th spot in terms of market capitalization. And of course, the main worry for the markets last week and probably going into December is the political drama unfolding in our government. And the public spat between the president and the vice president has escalated into death threats and all the hula baloo that is the hallmark of Philippine politics. Now, let's talk about what's happening here. Just a quick overview. No political views, no political biases. Just my opinion, my interpretation of things as they unfold and what's just to get to know what we're dealing with. This really all started with the drug addict accusation by the former president that eventually escalated into a Senate hearing even. We have the Greens here firing the first salvo, culminating into a release of a video that the Reds claim is a deep fake video of the president, getting high. And in retaliation, I think maybe the Reds probably had the Commission on Audit flag the Office of the Vice President for its confidential and intelligence fund expenditure back in 2022. And this scrutiny, combined with how the VP handled herself, really contributed to a series of events that eventually led to the Greens implosion, I would call it. So, well, Shemenet, like really what happens next. Now, the Reds continued the relentless assault by resurfacing the crackdown that started way back in 2023. Now, remember, the Pogo investigation heightened when the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission raided the Hong Seng Gaming Technology office back in 2023, and 1 year later, the authorities received information from a Vietnamese that had escaped from a Pogo named Zunyan Technology in 2024, which was located in the same compound in Bamban, Tarlac. So guess what documents, whose name was on the documents they found in those raids? Of course, it was the Bamban Mayor Alice Go's name on those documents, right? And of course, we know what happened here. Now, what really prompted the Greens to start this war with the Reds? It goes back to when Speaker Romualdez assumed the Speaker of the House, a nomination, of course, that came from Sandro. The Greens have been witnessing a steady decline in their political clout. Right now, really, it's looking kind of desperate for the Greens to be doing these kind of things. And really, what's the end game anyway? You're trying to take down the president so that you can be president and, you know, regain what political clout. And really, there are people in the government that really doesn't like disruptions. I mean, the guy was already voted into office, right? Why destabilize a country? Because, you know, this will eventually do more harm than good. You know, you want to be president, just run for office in 2028. It's not too far off. And at this stage, what are the Greens hoping to do? They're hoping for what? They're hoping for a people power-like action, mass action, or they're hoping that the VP gets arrested or impeached so that they can use that as an excuse for mass action, right? But that's, I mean, okay, let's talk about people power or an EDSA revolution, right? That's not gonna happen. You know why? Two words, right? AIX and TUPAD. What are those things? AIX is the assistance to individuals in crisis situations. TUPAD is the tulong panghanap buhay sa ating disadvantaged, displaced workers. You know what this is? It's a payout, guys. You know, you go to every congressman's FB page or senator's FB page, you will see this as a regular event. I mean, yeah, it's an assistance, but you know, the end result of this is, I would say, the people are, you know, well compensated. What about impeachment, right? The Greens hoping for a drastic action from the Reds to shore up mass action. Realistically, guys, there's no time for an impeachment. Let's look at the timeline. That impeachment will have to wait until a new Congress and a new set of senators enter next year after the midterm elections. And by the time they finish all of this process of impeachment, it will be 2028 anyway. Right? So it's not a matter of whether the president wants the VP to be impeached. There's just no time for that. If you're hoping for a people power like revolution, I mean, at this point, really not a lot of people, and by not a lot, we mean like only 100 people would flock to the streets in protest, right? They got their, I mean, most people already got their AIX and TUPAD payouts regularly. I mean, it's Christmas season. Everybody's thinking about their Christmas bonuses, their 13-month pay. Everybody's busy with their Christmas preparations. It's bad timing. And really, so far, for the Greens, unfortunately for them, they are up against the grandmasters of optics and spin. We have here the VP live streaming in the wee hours of the morning. Look at this dark background. Just bad optics. It's kind of sad, really. I mean, I wonder why the VP is imploding and disregarding advice from her advisors and doing these kind of things. And then we have here the president with a response. Look at how it's well staged, right? Official flags in the background, stark contrast with light colors, looking more presidential. Things might get worse for the Greens, but for the Reds, I think right now the government has things under control. But of course, we can't help but worry the markets because, of course, people might think that, you know, it's unpredictable what a desperate person can do. So, the PSEI continued to tumble past the 6,700 support to end the week at 66.13. At this point, we mentioned that the likely scenario would be for us to go down to 65.55 and form a double bottom. For this week, watch out for the market's reaction when we hit this level, because a breach of 65.55 would mean further downside towards 6,400. And as we mentioned during our last episode, right, back in 2016 when Trump won, if we measure the downside here, right, the November elections back in 2016 was November 8, the downside here was around 11%, right? Now, if we translate that 11% to today, starting from when Trump was elected, if we measure that from here to here, this is just 9%, 11% would coincide with the 6,400 level. So at this point, people are asking if we are going to get a Santa Claus rally. The past 2 years, we did get a Santa Claus rally, but the prior years before that, 2021, 2020, and 2019, we did not get a Santa Claus rally. But interestingly, back in 2016, we did get a quick Santa Claus rally after the big drawdown, right? So for this week, let's look at some stock picks that I am monitoring. We have Ali and SMPH, both property stocks looking to form double bottoms. Let's see how it reacts to their respective support levels. Best case scenario, both stocks bounce off of the support levels. See if it clear the immediate dynamic resistances of the 20 EMA. On the banking sector, I'm looking at BPI. It is currently at a range support here at 128. It's currently also at the 61.8 Fibonacci zone. So this week will be make or break for BPI. But if we compare that to BDO and Metrobank has already managed to rally. So the question really here is what's really happening with BPI and what is causing the price action to diverge from the other banking stocks. So we'll see. Be careful if you want to enter into this one. With the possible weaker dollar, could gold resume its rally, and with it, of course, Apex Mining. Now it has bounced up from the 342 support zone, and we'll see if it manages to complete a higher low and challenge the dynamic resistance here at 371, where the 200 EMA and the 20-day EMA is converging. Now next we have JFC. It has drawn down to 258. The critical zone to watch out for is at 240, so we'll set an alert there. Now JFC is actually rarely this cheap. Now if we add the price to earnings ratio here for JFC, we can see that the PE ratio has not really moved in line with the price action. See here, the price action has gone up. It has actually maintained its PE ratio, which means that the earnings growth has not yet translated into price action. So 240, 235 may be a good level to enter for JFC. Remember that, you know, price is what you pay for stocks and value really is what you get, right? So lastly, we have Manila Water. It's back at the 25.65 level. Set an alert at 25.50. It will be at the bottom range of this price range. So let's see if it again managed to bounce off of that level. I would pick up more shares for Manila Water. So on to the global markets, the S&P 500 again hitting new all-time highs, closing the week at 60.39. This marks the best month for the year. The index gaining 6%. At some point, there might be a catalyst to throw the bulls off their game, but for now, the path of least resistance remains to the upside. Now, analysts have become bullish and expect this rally here to carry over well into 2025 with a projected target of 7,000 by the end of next year. That's really a lot of upside. Now, immediate resistances for the S&P 500 would be 60.79, 61.67, and 62.43. If you really want to invest in the US markets, the easiest way really is for you just to get index funds. Get the SPY, get the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, get the DJI, which is the Dow Jones Industrials, and get the IWM, which is the Russell 2000 ETFs. And along with that, for the S&P 500, you know, just get the top 5 companies of the S&P 500. The top 5 companies would be Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Nvidia. Just get those 5 stocks along with index stocks and you'll be fine. At this point, all indicators point to a very strong market breadth with the Dow Jones Composite, the Dow Jones Transportation Average, the Utility Average, the Russell 2000, the S&P Financials, the Cyclical Sector Index, the Equal-Weighted S&P 500, and the Advanced Decline Line, all hitting all-time highs. Where could we potentially get the best returns at this time of the year? Seasonally, the Russell 2000 tends to outperform during the Thanksgiving to the second day of the New Year period. So we are seeing some form of rotation happening into the markets and probably in the cryptocurrency market as well. Ethereum, which has been lagging behind Bitcoin, maybe is poised to rally this month, extending all the way into May of next year. It will be a busy economics week for the Philippines and the US. We will have our inflation rate coming in on Thursday. The consensus right now is probably at around 2.6, 2.8. We'll see. Unemployment rate will be coming out on Friday. The same with the US. JOLTS job openings data will be on Tuesday, and the global manufacturing PMI for the Philippines in the US. This will be the second to the last important economic data that the US will get. No? The US will get their inflation data in December 11 before the Fed and the BSP comes up with their rate decision. So that's it for this week. Please like this video if you found the information useful. Please subscribe to the channel for more updates. And again, good luck on your trades. Please manage your risks accordingly, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.